23 years ago, the year before I was born, 1996, September 13th, Tupac Shakur died. Now, I'm saying this today because, it's really interesting how Tupac, a guy that really had a major voice in hip hop and also in pop culture. Obviously he starred in movies and stuff like that, very poetic. So for him to be gone for 23 years now, and to see that he died at the age of 25, and he would have been in his 40s now, probably still continuing that pain, that struggle in his music, and to see how far the world, the technology has come along with streaming services and all this other type of stuff that's been going on. I think he would have been amazed, and all the other artists that were no longer made it to the 2000 eras, Biggie, so forth and so on. Big pun. So, hey, I find myself talking about this today. I have to. This is Stef Saucy, talk by your boy DJ Stef Saucy. 96 was a good year, too. I'm going to have to address why 96 was an important year, of course. And I want to talk about this Tupac, and how he obviously, I wouldn't say he resembles Nipsey Hussle, but it brings me back to the West Coast and how West Coast artists, something about them, man. They, especially impactful West Coast artists. Let me not just say any West Coast artists. They seem to have a relationship between each other. You know what I'm saying? Growing up in these tough streets, gang culture is obviously evident in Los Angeles or just California in general. Not saying it's not evident anywhere else, but Tupac, I think, is a man that had many intuitions and many desires and hopes for the nation and the world, but at the same time, he was still battling that demon inside of him, I think, when he still wanted to go to war. If you listen to his last album, right, the Don Illuminati, by Machiavelli, we all know where he comes from, the struggle, being born in jail, mama trying to, do the best she could. She was in the gang too, growing up. So Tupac did a lot for hip hop, making it that mainstream culture, I would say. Not just him in general, but the way how they just blew up, man, in the 90s was just incredible, man. I really respect what he did. And I wonder what guys would say now. Like just looking at some of the artists, like the OGs. I mean, you still got the OGs in the game, like the Locks. Don't get me started. You got Hove still in the game. He still likes the newer artists nowadays. I really want to know what they would say nowadays. I mean, you got to adapt to different things. Just the other day, Lloyd Banks is saying that no one's checking for him. Now, Banks, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a true fan. I don't know every mixtape. I don't know every album or lyric to a song. But Banks is pretty hard. I mean, I must say that. And for him to not drop any content, it's just like mindless to even think that he would say that, on his Twitter feed. Like, no one's really looking for him. I mean, then again, 50, he did a great job with he did a good job outside of the music. All right, I was about to say G Unit, but we all know the situation. Back to what I was saying with Tupac. All right, 96, the Telecommunications Act is passed. Why is that important? Because you got competition going on in 96, right? The first time in over 60-something years that Congress passed something like this. So as a fan, as a consumer of media, and during that time, you had competition between phone companies, TV companies, programming, all right, other media companies and stuff like that. So it was kind of like the first beginning of something greater to come. And we really appreciate it now because it affects us as consumers. Once again, where you got all these big companies who are monopolizing the industry. You got the big six that I like to talk about. CBS, Viacom, Disney's taking over. You also have News Corporation, GE, and I'm missing one more. Can't think of it off the top of my head. But they're doing, incredible things of just making their assets built for them. Fox just got taken over by Disney, so it's a lot of big things going on. Probably prior to what '96 did for this era nowadays, right? So we got to shout out to '96. I just want to name some of the albums that came out in '96, right? Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt. All right, come on now. Nas, It Was Written. Mobb Deep, Hell on Earth. Rest in peace to Prodigy. Tribe Called Quest, their album came out. Busta came out with an album. Fugees came out with an album. Some of the greatest groups and artists to come to the hip hop name, to the hip hop world, rather, I should say. And paving the way for this generation is something that was very important, I think. And I think no one can really realize that, because obviously sometimes we don't foresee the future. I'm sure Pac foreseed a few things in his mind, how things will work out with change and stuff like that. But obviously he wasn't here to do that. Just real sad. Obviously Suge was in the car. Nothing happened to him, but you see what's happening to Suge now. He's got diabetes. He's going to jail. I think he's blind in one eye. So he's not doing too good, all right? And it's really tough to really feel, sort of a sympathy towards Suge Knight, because of the things he did, to people, back in the days with Death Row Records. And good thing that Dr. Dre got out of that, right? Because look what Dre has done. Just discovering Eminem, making him to one of the biggest artists of all time. And, you need guys like that. I'm an inspiring producer, too, in this game. So I feel like hip-hop is definitely evolving. Sometimes I can't appreciate how, like, some artists are taking it and just making it, too violent. I mean, I understand hip hop is what you are. You are an expression of yourself, but sometimes you could really, sit down and be like, yo, man, I just can't appreciate the art of some of these artists, man. I had a girl in my class the other day saying that some artists just make it sound disgusting, right? You got a guy like Kendrick Lamar, obviously from Compton, LA. He makes it seem effortless, all right? And then when I say effortless, I'm talking about not making a mockery out of the game. He's really sticking to the black culture, right? We always talk about black culture and how we don't big that up enough. But why is it that a guy like Kendrick Lamar doesn't have to talk about always fucking bitches, getting money, I got jewelry, this, and I got that, and still goes platinum, makes money, receives Grammy nominations? The creativity is there, man. And anybody can do it. It's anything is possible in this game, in this life too, by the way. So, I just had to say that because I really, respect what some artists are doing. Like, shout out to Kendrick. And back to my reason of 96. 96, man, I just feel like they were like in a transition, right? Because we all have to go through transitions. And I wasn't even born to be a part of the 96 era, but a lot of things were starting to happen now. You had shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? Martin. This past week, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air aired 29 years ago. This past week, all right? So, big deal, because a show like BET, who is now having a streaming service, is showing programs like that, those original sitcoms that make you want to laugh, joke inside. And they were making hip-hop a big thing, presenting that in the shows. Obviously, Independence Day, one of the biggest movies ever to be created, featured a hip-hop song. So I think hip-hop is definitely, it's definitely institutionalizing many younger voices. Even if you're not black, you're not a minority, white kids are making hip-hop nowadays. R.P. Mac Miller, he was probably one of the great hip-hop artists, you know what I'm saying, of this time. Life cut too short because of drugs. Drugs is probably one of the most frequently talked about things in hip-hop, right? But we can't ignore the fact that it's an art. It's something that is expressed because that's what someone is going through during times. Some people use drugs to make them make better music. It just all depends. And I'm really, focused on the severity of Tupac's death. during that time, man. And that was just right before, he had a whole big beef with Biggie. And then the following year, Biggie dies a week after I was born, So it's crazy, what people go through, man. Sometimes I do get frustrated, you know, not having the OGs that I think would have really made a difference nowadays in this game. Obviously we still got him. We still got him. Rick Ross is still going strong. We can consider him an OG now. Obviously T.I., one of the greats to ever do it, coming out of the South. E40, shout out to him. Also, like I said, I like the Locks. I like what they doing. Um, Fab doing his thing too still. So I think we got to get back to really respecting OG artists. No, seriously, man, because it's one thing saying that they fell off, but it's another thing saying that we want them to retire. We don't want to hear your shit no more. I don't think that's the case. If Pac was here, what do you think people are gonna do? Stop listening to his music? This guy was a generational artist, a generational human being that was loved and really had a sense of knowledge, man. So I just get confused when people saying people, are not gonna pay for the music no more. Streaming has changed everything. You don't think there's a couple OGs out there riding around in a 6 Series or a 750 Li with some 22s that want to bump to some Nas, Jay-Z, Pac, Biggie? Of course, they're out there. Technology is meant for us. I had a feeling that I was gonna bring something up like this because nowadays things are getting more expensive and people are getting more cheap. And I had looked at that from my boy Eck. He posted that on his Instagram. Shout out to my guy King Eck. Yeah, man, you can't knock the fact that we're in a generation now where music is at our disposal. It's so fast to get this type of music. And, I just also just feel like, artists are more focused on really like promoting themselves. And I think that's the main thing you have to do is promote yourself to the highest level, So the opportunity is there. Shout out to the era of 1996, the year of 1996, rather I should say, really did a lot. Probably one of the most important years in hip hop history. I'm gonna say that again. That Telecommunications Act is no joke. So Tupac, shout out to him, and if he was still here today, everyone would be checking for him. All right, so this is Stef Saucy Talk. So the most important thing I want you to take away from this video is that 96, the year of 1996, hip-hop was alive, all right? You know what it is. Tune in for another episode. I'm here. Ain't going nowhere.